G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach with DR. Hope you're all going well. Now with the stock market video still 1 week away before the price changes or the price rises, I thought I'd do something a little bit different this week. So I'm going to do a quick trade or hold video. I've got a heap of inboxes this week asking, DR, do I trade this bloke or do I give him just one more week? Players like Crisp, Whitfield, Ridley, Steele in the midfield, Gawn in the ruck. There's a bit of value going on around the rucks this year. Even the lower priced options like a Berry and a Will Brodie. What do we do with these picks that maybe didn't deliver what we thought they would have after one round? I'll give you all my thoughts on that, but I think you'll see that there's a pretty obvious theme that I'm going with here in regards to trading out premiums after 1 week. Close to the end of the video, I've also got another table which I think will really reinforce why I think this way. So, hope you enjoy, guys. As I said, hope all is well. Let's start off with the first player that I've been getting a lot of messages about. Alright, so we'll start off with this man, Jack Crisp. I've had a heap of questions about Crispy this week because, let's be honest, he looked a little bit soggy during that game. Only the 16 touches, the 1 mark, 2 free kicks against, the 5 clangers. Yeah, it just did not look good. And from a SuperCoach perspective, it was a bit of a mini train wreck because he was like that lost boy. No one wanted to give him the ball, didn't spend too much time behind the ball, but unfortunately did spend some time ahead of the ball. Obviously played that midfield role at stages, but yeah, I just don't think he's a born midfielder, Jack Crisp. I think that his best position is coming off that half-back attacking through the midfield. But we know that Pendles is back there now. Young Dacos is back there. He looks super, so I don't think they're going to move him anytime soon. Long-term, obviously, we'll find him in the midfield. But where does this man sit in regards to Collingwood's structure at the moment? I'm just not quite sure. So, look, I've got the money to go up to a Stewart, an Aaron Hall. We could save 130-odd K and go all the way down to a Sicily. And look, these are certainly options that we need to look at, but I don't think we should look at these options this week. I reckon we need just 1 more week starter, see how Crispy goes against the Crows on the MCG, and then make a decision just before the price rises. But look, if he goes anything like a 69, or if I don't see something really positive in regards to his role, then he's most likely going to be a correctional trade for me. Jordan Ridley, another man that really disappointed owners with his score of 68. If we take our minds back to the game, we know that Essendon got flogged, but unfortunately I think there may be a couple of red flags here. Now, one thing we need to take into account, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, why didn't he take advantage of the ball being down there so often? Why isn't this a 100-plus type score? I think the reason for that was the fact that the ball was just getting in there so quickly, and it's really hard to defend that type of stuff. Lots of the Geelong players, I think, are also lowering their eyes, looking for Tomahawk, because he was absolutely killing it. He was on fire, so that certainly doesn't play into Ridley's hands. The other issue that we had here was the fact that Laverde went down, and I think a bit of their structure went out the window, and he even spent a little bit of time up forward. I think it was about 10 to 15 minutes, and for me, that is a real concern. Now, if I take my mind back to someone like a Sicily, and it would have been a year or two ago before he did his knee, that was one of the concerns with that pick. Will he be used up forward as a bit of a swingman at times? Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be a trend with Jordan Ridley. I wouldn't expect it to happen that often, but it is something to be concerned about, I suppose. Only 11 kicks, you'd love to see that 15, 16 plus, and only 5 marks, I'd love to see at least 10 plus. So, just didn't really seem to have an impact on the game, unfortunately. And will this be a trend going into the season? Look, I don't think so. I think that he'll bounce back. I've never been a huge fan of the pick going into this year. I think I may have had him in my team once during the preseason and taken him out quite quickly, but I'd give him another week, see how he goes. But if he delivers another performance like we saw on the weekend, then similar to Crisp, may unfortunately have to be a correctional. Lachie Whitfield, a really popular selection this year, owned by the large majority of the competition. A lowly score of 73 for his standards, but look, I'm not getting too concerned at this stage. And why is that? Well, it just wasn't his type of game. He wasn't able to use that run and carry that he's renowned for. Wasn't able to link up with the 1-2s because it was a really contested type game, particularly up until half-time. Now, we know that Lachie Whitfield can basically score well in any position, whether or not that's down back, even half forward, or on a wing. He's owned, as I said, by a lot of people, so I think if you jump off the boat now, it's actually more of a risk than keeping the faith with Whitfield. And look, at an absolute bare minimum, give this bloke 1 more week. Only 21 disposals at 71% efficiency. That's on the lower end for Lachie Whitfield because we know that he's an elite user of the football, and I just think that it's pretty crazy trading him out this early. So keep the faith with Lachie, at least give him another week. If you trade him out, I think you're going to regret it. Jack the Man of Steele certainly didn't play like Superman over the weekend with a score of 87. Not ideal when you're paying over 685k. Look at his stats there, 28 touches, almost getting a 30, 7 tackles. We expect that from Jack Steele every week, probably as an absolute minimum. But here's where we go a little bit astray. 3 free kicks against and 9 clangers. So any player that gets 9 clangers, that's really going to hurt your score at the end of the day. Look, I'm not too concerned with this pick, and I will show you some numbers towards the end of the video, which will explain exactly why. Last year had a pretty poor start, and look at what he produced for the rest of the season. So if you've selected Jack Steele, you're obviously a little bit disappointed at the moment, but my high advice is keep the faith. Do not trade out this man this week. Give him at least one more week, and even then, if he goes even a low 100, it's a tough decision because he's going to plummet in price, but don't be surprised to see him go 160 in round 3 if that's the case. So keep the faith in Jack Steele. Definite hold for now. On to my man Jarrod Berry. Well, it really was a tale of two halves, and we saw the best and the worst of JB in this game. Now, what was the best? Well, if you're watching the game up until quarter time, even up until half time, you would have been wrapped with this bloke's performance. Was looking really, really good. Had a score in the mid-60s, I think it was from memory. And I was thinking, here we go, 100 plus in round 1. Was absolutely licking my lips. But then we did see the worst of Jarrod Berry. Now, we've talked about his durability. We knew that was a risk with the Berry selection. And already we've seen an issue with that shoulder. Now, does he get up this week? He's listed as a test. I think that he does. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it certainly is a concern, particularly already this early on the season. And the other thing, and I've got it in red there, is his disposal efficiency, a lowly 55%. And unfortunately, that's just not at AFL standard. So I'd love for him to be able to get to, say, a 65, 70 even. That would really impact his score in a positive way. But for now, I'm keeping faith with Jarrod Berry. If he's injured and misses this week, that's a different proposition. However, I will seriously look to move him on if that is the case, because it's just not a good sign this early on the season. I probably just want to get out of the pick. Even though I love the man, you've just got to take the emotion out of it sometimes and look at what's best for your side going forward. So if you've missed out on someone like a Martin or a Hayes, for example, 102k type rookie, you're making 160k here that you can invest elsewhere in the grounds. But this is only if he doesn't get up this week. If he is right to play, I'm certainly giving him one more week. But yeah, again, if it's a lowly score, we've definitely got something to think about. So if he plays, hold on to him. If he doesn't, then I think it's okay to trade. On a big bad Maxi, I know a few people are starting to get a little bit concerned with this pick. Did I pay up too much? And I think the reason why people are asking that question is because we do seem to have a little bit of value in the rucks this year. I thought it was pretty clear cut. He either needs to go with Gawn, Grundy, or Darcy as the big 3. Now, we know that Darcy really wasn't an option, and I think that's why some people, I think it was about 10% of the competition, had to look elsewhere. You had players like Rowan Marshall, scored really well. Tim English, is it his year to break out, particularly without Steph in the side, all the way down to someone like a JARROD Witts. And if we're going all the way down, Mr. Jack Hayes, he even outscored Gawn by over 30 points. So I think that's a big reason why people are concerned with the pick at this stage. But remember, we did select Maxi for a reason. He's a really safe pick. We know that that ceiling probably wasn't what it was like 2 or 3 years ago, particularly without Jackson in the side. But this was a pretty down game for him as well. 11 kicks, 3 handballs, and only at 57% disposal efficiency. So close to half of those disposals were not efficient. I think it would have worked out to be 8 effective disposals there. The other thing that really killed him this game was that free kick against count. Had 6 free kicks against. I think English had something ridiculous like 9 free kicks for. And Maxi did also have 9 clangers. So that's just not Max Gawn standards, I don't think. I think that's just an outside of the box type game. Time on ground was 97, which is really positive. So I'm keeping the faith with Maxi. The big question is next week, if he fails to deliver and 2 or 3 of these other blokes continue to deliver, then we've got a big question on our hands. Do we go down, bank some of that money and upgrade elsewhere? Or do we just hope that this bloke's going to come good and trust our gut and our research and think to ourselves, no, I selected him for a reason. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to stick with him, but we'll have to see next week. Do not trade him this week, in my opinion. I don't think it's a good idea. Will Brodie, I'm a Brodie owner. I'll keep this one pretty quick. I think 40% of the competition do own him. He delivered us a 76, 9 kicks, 13 handballs. That was okay, 22 possessions all up. When I say it was okay, we'll look at his time on ground in a minute and talk about that, which is not okay. 5 tackles was nice, 13 contested, 7 clearances. Disposal efficiency was only 63%, and that's pretty much been a deficiency of Brodie's all the way through his career. That's never been a strong point of his. But let's get to this time on ground, because that's the main concern here. Only 65%. Now, I don't actually know what it was up until three-quarter time, but what I can say is that he basically saw no action in the fourth quarter, and that's when the game was on the line. That's where some big points are on offer, and that's a big concern. And I don't know the reason why he spent so much time on the bench. Was it a trust issue? The fact that, hey, he may be a bit of a one-trick pony? Was it a fitness issue? We know in the preseason he was really struggling to keep up with the running. He was always at the back of the pack. Endurance has never been a strong point for Will Brodie, so I'm not too sure about that. But personally, I'm definitely going to give him another week. I think that he's got the potential to put in a couple of really nice scores. Now, we know that Fife's coming back in the near future. Will that affect him? Look, it's a possibility, but at this stage, I'm just going to keep the faith. I think we need to give him another week and then just reassess. Now, if he gets dropped, obviously we get him straight out for someone else. That's a given, but I think that he does play this week. Hopefully he can play an important type role, particularly with a few players out of the side. I'm backing him in. I wouldn't trade this week. And just before I let you go, I have put this quick table together to outline the reasons why I think it's a really risky idea trading premiums out after the one round. So I've got, 7 examples here. So we've got Tommy Hawkins, Grundy, Rich, Miller, Jack Steele, the Bont, and Maxi Gawn. So if we look at these round 1 scores, we see Tommy Hawkins 57, Grundy is 70, 72 for Rich, 80 for Miller, 91 for Steele, 92 for Bont, 93 for Gawn. And if we look at Gawn's score round 1 from 2021, very similar to his round 1 score from 2022. And what did he do the next week? We can see there, bang, a 137. The Bont, a 92 to a 145. Steele, 91 to 123. Miller, up to 131. Rich, not the biggest score you've ever seen, but all the way up to 113, which is a 41-point differential. Look at Grundy, a 65-point differential between his round 1 and round 2 scores, up to 135 in round 2. And Tommy Hawkins, this was the biggest differential, went from a 57 in round 1 to a 134 in round 2 for a 77-point differential in the plus. So we look at those season averages as well and compare them to their round 1 scores. Yeah, absolutely chalk and cheese, isn't it? So this is a big reason why. These are prime examples of why I think it can be a bad idea to trade primos out after 1 round. Now, when it comes to trading primos out after 2 rounds before the price rises, that's a bit of a different story. Now, if you've got a really, good gut feel, or the data's suggesting that, hey, this pick doesn't look like it's going to work out, then I think it's fine to do. An example for me last year was Lachie Neale. Now, it was pretty evident to me, particularly being a Lions supporter and watching him really closely, that he just wasn't going to work out as a pick. So I jumped ship just before the price rises, just before he absolutely plummeted and didn't really recover throughout the whole year. So I think if you've got the evidence, the research and the data to back these things up and trade out a premium before the price rises, that's okay to do. But after only the 1 round, I just think that it's super risky. So if you were 50-50 about whether or not I trade out a premium, maybe this table has just managed to sway you a little bit. So that's it from me for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you are looking to trade out a premium in round 1, make sure you've got some really, really valid reasons for it. My high advice is to give it just 1 more week, just to get another week's worth of data, and then make more of an informed decision before the price changes. So good luck, hope all is well, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers, bye.